So we're trying something new. We're using a different service to stream to all the places at the same time. So we're always changing stuff. Like, you can't leave anything static. You got to change it, make it new. Try out something new. See if you improve what you're doing. So I should be streaming live to Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And as soon as my production staff over there says we're good to go, I'll actually start talking about something meaningful instead of just burning time. Or if somebody tops something in the comments and says, hey, I can really see you, that'd be great too. So speaking of burning time, I saw this article. I don't know if it's true or not, because you see all these clickbait articles and you read them sometimes you don't. It said that in one of the Super Bowls that Michael Jackson did, he wanted to be in charge of when it started. And there was some hubbub and they wanted him to start at a certain time and he wanted to be different. So he just went on stage and stood there for 2 minutes so that he could start when he wanted to start. And like Super Bowl commercials are millions of dollars for a 30-second placement. So he took 4 multi-million-dollar time slots to just stand there and be like, I will start when I want. I'm important. And people loved it. Hey, and our production staff has given us a thumbs up. So my little story gave us enough time to know that we're live, and anybody that watches in the future can fact check me and tell me in the comments below whether I'm right or wrong, or who knows? I don't know if I'm right or wrong. You see it on the internet, it's just got to be true. So this is PAMcast for February 18th, 2025. This is an update about TechIDManager and privilege account management for existing TechIDManager partners, people who know what TechIDManager is and are interested in using it and knowing more about it or how it's changing, and things that I get sidetracked on talking about, things that have happened in the life of TechIDManager and me and other people that work here. That's what today is. If this is for you, keep listening. If this is not for you, we do a live demo once a month, which covers what the product is from start to finish for those who are unfamiliar with it. And if you would rather not wait for that and you're here for some other reason, you can always send an email to support@techidmanager.com or sales@techidmanager.com, or you can visit our website, techidmanager.com, and request or schedule a demo and do a one-on-one introduction to what TechIDManager is and ask any questions that you have. This is our agenda for today. We're going to talk about what we've been up to, some new features, and the next big thing that's coming for TechIDManager. What we have been up to, that top one up there, TV show filming. I went and filmed a TV show, an entrepreneurial documented competition. It was a lot of fun. It was a week long. All kinds of things happened. I'll tell you the name of the show closer to when it's released. We just did the filming. It'll be released in 8 months to a year. There's a long lag time on production. I was super excited. I will definitely be talking about it more when it comes out. And we're actually going to have a watch party where a bunch of my friends are going to come over. I do well enough that we're having a watch party. A bunch of friends are going to come over and we're going to sit down and talk about it and see the whole thing, because as someone who's filming it, you don't get to see the whole thing. You don't get to see the whole story develop. You just get to live the sort of small slice that you are in. So that was a lot of fun. That was about a week of filming time where not much else happened as far as the company moving forward. From my perspective, developers kept developing their stuff and social medias kept doing their things and sales kept doing their things, but I didn't. Next on this, FBI says obvious thing. Our social media engagement person, Emily, who's awesome, love Emily, sent me this article that was talking about how the FBI said to disable local admin accounts on computers. Well, I read the article. I made this little video about it. You can find it on YouTube. You can find links to it on LinkedIn and YouTube. And they're probably in the doobly-doos down below. Where the FBI said this obvious thing, you should disable local admin accounts. Well, in this article, about halfway through, the FBI also says that North Korean IT workers have been observed using artificial intelligence and face-swapping technology during video job interviews to obfuscate their true identities and get jobs to install ransomware to ransomware US companies. This is crazy. You should go look it up. It's really quite an interesting thing that we ran across. Made a video about it. We are attempting to make videos on the regular about interesting things we find and interesting things that are happening weekly in the life of TechIDManager and Ruffian software. What else? What have we been up to? Development, documentation, and planning. The development team is developing, the documentation team is documenting, and the CEO team is planning. The CEO team is me. We are really pushing hard toward what it says at the bottom here, the next big thing, TechIDManager 6.0. There are a lot of features that we have slated for that, and they're going to come out in both the late 5.0 series of releases, and then once they're all done, we're going to wrap it up and call it 6.0, and all those will be available as standard features for everybody to use inside TechIDManager. Some of those new features that we are talking about are our Azure subscription update to a single Azure subscription is officially released. These are base installation that you do in the MSPs Azure tenant or some Azure tenant where you have one subscription, and link installations that you do in each tenant that you want TechIDManager to control stuff in, make accounts in, do just-in-time accounts in, set rights in, things like that. This is pretty highly requested. This is now officially released. Quite a few people have been using it in public beta for a while, and it seems to be working for all of them. There was an issue with version 5.392 of this that definitely needs to be upgraded to the release version, 5.441. 5.441. Available partner resources and releases on our website. We'll take you to the release page, which has this on it. There are some shortened instructions. There's a full video of me talking about installing it, and here is the PowerShell script to install the base install. You only need to do that one time. And then here's the executable install, which will talk you through installing the linked installations. You do this for each tenant that you want to put TechIDManager in and do the account management that we do and protection on accounts that we do. It's pretty cool. You go from having a subscription each one to a single subscription. It'll ask if you want to update. There's all kinds of questions it's going to ask you. Real straightforward, really good. Along with that, we've added the ability for Management Console to set the agent options for Azure agents right now, for those base and link Azure installs. That means that no longer in the environment variables for the function that's running, that's where the options used to be for the agent. The options are now settable directly from the Management Console. So Management Console is now becoming that more singular pane of glass, that single place where you set the options for all the agents. Right now, you can only set options for the Entra ID and Azure agents. We are adding the ability with 6.0, one of the big feature sets, is to be able to set any agent's options and add instances and manage the instances of options from the Management Console. So if you click on the gear icon beside an agent, it will take you to a series of settable options. You can set them to what you want. It's pretty cool. It's pretty straightforward. This also has support for Azure 𝗂𝘁cie and 𝗂𝘁cie High support. If you are doing a base link install for an Azure 𝗂𝘁cie or 𝗂𝘁cie High tenant, you need to do the base install and the link on the same level of Azure. If you use the commercial Azure, which is a normally available one, the base install for a commercial Azure can only do linked installs for commercial Azure. If you want Azure 𝗂𝘁cie High tenants to have accounts controlled in them, you have to do a base install in an Azure 𝗂𝘁cie or 𝗂𝘁cie High tenant so that it can access them. They have to match the tenancies such that you don't bypass the 𝗂𝘁cie rules on what is that rule? Rule on the REST API and the access across types of tenants. Another interesting one, the one that I'm very on the fence about. I made a video about this, whether passphrases or random character passwords are better. Some of the math behind it, you can find it out on YouTube. But we have added word lists for passwords. That means we have provided a default list of about 7,000 passwords. 7,000 words, not passwords, 7,000 words that can be combined with hyphens between them and semi-random one random character at the end of it, possible lowercase, uppercase, or lowercase starting words for generating passwords on these agents. This is a 6.0 targeted feature. It's available on the pre-release of the domain service 5.5.509, and I believe the Azure agent has a version of it also. This is in public beta. We believe this to work. We have been using it internally for a while now. The passwords come out at various lengths. The rules in the management console on client options, you'll now see that there is a password style along with the password length. There's also a word count and a list of words you can edit. If you are one of our international clients and you want to use words that are in your own language, you need at least 7,000 words on that list. You can get that list from, we got the list from, where did we get it from? Oh my God, the name just out of my head. EFF, Electronic Frontiers Foundation. They give out several different lists, a short list and a long list. This is their long list of 7,700 something words. If you have a similar length word list in your language, they have to be unique words. We do check that before we make the passwords from them. So you can't put Apple 7,000 times and always get passwords that are Apple, 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 Apple. You can change that list to be your language, because one of the advantages of passphrases over passwords or word list based passwords is that they are easier to read and then type in when someone is standing in front of a machine having to type it in. If you don't speak English as your first language, it makes clear sense to me and to the rest of the Doma staff that you need to be able to put in words in your language. One caveat with this: we are an American company, and one of my favorite jokes is, what do you call somebody who speaks 3 languages? Trilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks 2 languages? Bilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks 1 language? American. This is an American written product used internationally, so we try to be as international as possible. Our keyboards only have 26 letters, lowercase, uppercase. Lots of other languages have more letters. We have keyboard mapping support for that. If you use one of the more, I'm going to use the wrong word here, but I'm still going to say it. If you use one of the more obscure languages with obscure characters in it, that us Americans don't fully understand why you have so many different characters. If those characters are not mapped on the keyboard, TechIDManager won't be able to inject them. This is fixable. Just let us know what characters we need to start looking to actually additionally map for your specific languages. We can map them, or you can edit the character mapping file directly that's in the user's Ruffian software directory. I think it's called keyboardmapping.json. You can edit that to add the letters that you need for any words you put in there. This should not be a problem, but there is like a small percentage chance that you'll use some word that's common and has letters that are common to you, but are not found in the default keyboard mapping for TechIDManager, so it won't be able to inject them. That's a lot of words around a very obscure issue that probably won't be a problem, but if you do it and you have issues, just let us know. The symptom will be you'll inject the password sometimes, and it sometimes won't work. It'll work most of the time, sometimes it won't, but it won't know. All right. We have also made some management console and central host changes. We released a bunch of those this weekend. The triplet access report for very large installations of TechIDManager was not properly refreshing. That now works. The speed at which a few other screens loaded was an issue. If you left logged in for too long, you got an error instead of being redirected to login screen. A whole series of changes like that. Better time out of idle, better access to older data. Oh yeah, we were always storing the older data past 45 days, but there was a time period of about last 6 months where that data, we still had it, but if you tried to find data older than 45 days, you couldn't get to it from the management console. If you contacted us, we would provide you with the data, but you couldn't get it from the console interface. You can now. That data is in the process of being moved around and reordered such that it's all available and be available forever. This has to do with the amount of data that we're keeping. We've made this commitment that as long as you're a client, we're not going to delete any data. Server space is cheap. was always my argument, my understanding for that. Server space is cheap, but database size and database access speeds do have some bearing on the archiving of large data sets. Some of our servers hold 28 gigs worth of just rotated passwords for the number of partners we have. And we have quite a few servers that are running now. So this amount of data we were stuffing off, but it was not being able to get to fast enough. We've addressed all of that. It's now fast enough to get to. Yeah, and we added some changes in the way you can move around the date ranges on reports in the management console. Check it out. These are subtle improvements, except for the older data access. These are subtle improvements that you may or may not notice as you're using the management console. If you run into any issues, for sure, let us know. Domain service 5.509 is in pre-release. I mention this because this is just shy of TechIDManager 6.0's domain service release. If we look at the release notes for it, it has a ton of changes. We have guaranteed rights that we've added. This is a right for this particular agent, a right or series of rights that you can always leave assigned to just-in-time accounts. If you think about the protected users group in AD. You want to have technician accounts always assigned to this group. TechIDManager by default in the just-in-time accounts removes all rights from the user, changes the password, all this other stuff. And then when you reprovision the just-in-time account, it adds all these rights back. Somebody contacted us and said, hey, we'd like the just-in-time disabled users to also remain part of the protected users group. That's what guaranteed rights allows for. This is the word list passwords we added. This is the first release that has this in it. It's pretty cool. There's some additional command lines to control at the agent specific level what type of passwords, number of words, things like that. We added a scheduled task to the domain service to ensure that it's running every hour. We've not had any issue with this, but this was a long-standing issue in our issue tracker. Back from version 2.0 something of the domain service, there was a bug that we believe we addressed. We never saw it happen again, but the domain service we would find not running on some machines. So we decided to put a scheduled task in, and it just kind of linked. We fixed the bug, never happened again. We wanted to see if it was happening. We finally put that scheduled task in just to mark the issue off, and because it's good practice, in case something stops the domain service, kills it, dies for some reason, it'll get restarted. We made some log file changes. Before we had a single large log file. Now we have rolling log files. We are compressing older log files, and then we are deleting much older log files. There was a logic inverted problem with showing whether the domain private key was set for a default instance. That's been fixed. We have the beginnings of setting options for the management console, which is one of those features I talked about. It's a 6.0 feature that is not public there yet, but the beginning of its inception is in this version of the domain service. This is one that made me snicker and laugh when I saw it. We removed the command line help because I haven't used a command line help in a very long time, and I don't know anybody that's read it. We always point people to the web version of the help. That's what you should see. All right. Oh yes, we do run faster on a version change or option change. Minor internal improvement. There's now a default username for non-PAM instances. There are a few cases where you can't have an instance and a default instance both there with the same username setup. You could make that work if you appropriately assign different technicians and whatnot, but there's now a non-default name to prevent it from having an issue. Forced password rotation is now in the management console and the tech client. This is a pretty cool feature that we had some people request. In the latest version of the management console, or the tech client, on an agent that supports you can right click and force a password rotation for yourself and your own technician's account on a particular agent. And managers in the management console have the option to force the password rotation for all of the technicians in a particular agent. This has been requested a few times. It's usually requested in those dire situations where somebody believes a hack or a breach has happened, or they have proof that it's happened, and they're like, we want to just rotate all the passwords now, even though they have no proof of passwords and broken, it's going to rotate within about 12 hours. Anyway, they want to rotate them now. We've added that. So that's just the way it works. We changed all instances to default to run after miss. So if it doesn't run in the given hour, the machine's off or whatnot, it will run at the appropriate time. This is really one of those fringe edge cases. We continue to make some internal JSON parser changes. And we added a sysprep command line that if you have a machine that you can't see that. Let me move out of the way. We've added a sysprep command line right there that if you have a golden image and you want to have domain service installed on it to control some lapse account, some local admin account, or to make unique accounts for technicians that have access to it, this will prep it up so that it doesn't try to be the same agent running on multiple machines. Just run sysprep, domain service.exe space sysprep, and it will do all the appropriate things so that if you clone it right after that and then bring that cloned image up, it will show up as its own agent in the management console. Pretty cool. Here are the things. And we have also changed, based on some user feedback, let me get out of the way here, the example install scripts right there for the domain service as PAM and laps. We have now signed those, so you can't edit them, but there are parameters now for setting your client GUI, the RMM name, friendly name, and OU, and we've signed it with our cert. So this came from a white glove install we did, and somebody said, hey, it would be nice if those scripts were signed so that they would run without having to run untrusted PowerShell scripts. We now do that. If this works or doesn't work, you want us to add more stuff to that PowerShell script, just let us know. This is based on user feedback, and we're here to help. So that's kind of the stuff that we have done in the last month, both released, developed, and put out there and have pre-released. If you are a long-time follower or long-time listener to this, you notice that there might be some things missing from this. That doesn't mean that we have forgotten them, like the auto update or a few other things. Or the mobile app or the Mac version. That doesn't mean we've forgotten them. That means that they didn't fit on this screen, and I didn't feel like making 2 slides. So they're in the same status they were last month. Filming the TV show took me out of action, and I was not able to drive the development team and work on it myself to get those out. They're coming. The next big thing really is TechIDManager 6.0. We have decided a series of features, a series of things that we want that are going to be in 6.0. We're going to call it 6.0, and we're going to release it. And it's going to be a big release party, all those big marketing things that go along with it. It'll all still be backward compatible. You will have to update a few things in tandem when you move to 6.0. Like when you move to a 6.0 version of the tech client on either Windows or Mac, you will also have to update your mobile client to a 6.0 version. There's some additional security that's going on there that will say, hey, they're not just going to run, and it'll just not work for you. But if you update both of them at the same time or one right after the other, you'll be good to go. Several of the features like the forced password rotation will only show up in 6.0 variants. That's just the way it's going to be. We are working on some additional C# examples for the REST API examples to give you more flexibility in the way you do it. Just off the top of my head, I know that there is a vault password rotation example coming. There is a agent moving example coming. There are quite a few, but they're pretty cool. There's going to be that's a secret. I can't tell you that. There's a secret agent coming. Secret agent. It's called the secret agent, but it's not really called the secret agent. But I'm keeping it a secret. There is a secret type of agent coming for 6.0 that I think will be really good and really exciting for a lot of people. So stay tuned to find out what that is. If you have any specific questions, support@techidmanager.com. It has been great talking to you today. And in 8 months to a year, you'll be hearing about the TV show that I filmed. And I'm going to expect everybody to watch it and cheer for me, no matter how good I do or didn't do. All right? Y'all have a great day. Happy you're here. And we'll talk to you hopefully in a month.